Welcome to another edition of Unicorn Chef. Tonight's Unicorn Chef is spicy in two ways. One, spicy dish. Two, spicy topic, which we'll get into later in the show. So also, I have to give Emily significant credit. The first Unicorn Chef who actually dressed up as a unicorn. Which you can't tell when she's on camera, but when she comes back on,
I still can't believe it though. All right, so definitely unicorn situation. Have it on.
Unicorn. So Em, what is our charity for tonight that we are highlighting?
So I gave you two of them. We're gonna do the Trevor Project and Mermaids UK. Both are for LGBT youth, something I care a lot about since I was one, and so is my wife. So those are my two charities. Check them out. I can always use support, especially mermaids. Good missions, good people.
As always, if you donate at home, please let us know, whether that's anonymously or tag us in it. For those of you cooking along, we love your questions and everything in the chat. And hashtag Unicorn Chef to share. We'd love to see the pictures because it's always so interesting to see how everybody comes out so differently. So first question for every Unicorn Chef is, Emily, what are you drinking?
I started with just did a shot of rye, and I've got a Stoli and cranberry ready to go. Heavy on the Stoli.
Gin and tonic here. Cheers. Take it away.
Cheers, cheers. All right, so we're doing Szechuan peppercorn chicken tonight. This is one of my favorite things. Let's see, what inspired this dish? I travel a lot, and for work I used to before the COVID situation. Sorry if my camera, I'm getting used to being like about a meter away from my camera. So when I travel for work, I try to find things that are exciting to do in town. Usually what I do is I'll go to speakeasies, because speakeasies are exciting and I like the challenge of trying to find them. So if I go to a speakeasy, then I've got to go to dinner before that. And so one of the places that I like to go is like a good Szechuan place, because that's another kind of challenging thing to find when you're on the road, especially if you're in a smaller town. So I do industrial control systems security. And so I end up in some very remote locations occasionally. And so to find a good Szechuan place is kind of a unicorn. So so if you find a good Szechuan place, you get the Szechuan peppercorn chicken, and it is brilliant. So earlier tonight, I started drying my peppers. You can see these here. This is something I do regularly with my my addiction. So I have two kinds. I have this is Vietnamese peppers here. These are smaller. And I have some habaneros. Now I'm not gonna do like full on with the habaneros, but I'll probably dump a few of those in there just for funsies. And if you're playing along at home, prep for this one is a little bit intense, or more intense than most of the stuff that I cook. So I don't know what your range is. I started with some rice, which is a side item, doesn't take much effort, although I've heard there's been some difficulty in the past on this particular show. So I will show you my rice. It's delicious looking, perfect. No need for a rice cooker.
We've covered rice a few times in the last couple of episodes. We recently had a unicorn chef that I think we can all agree pretty much only could cook rice.
Yes. I'm aware of this one.
Fitzgerald, I'm making fun of you.
Rice is not easy, so don't be hard on yourself.
Well, it was instant rice, so I mean, it couldn't get any worse.
Okay, do be hard on yourself. Take that personally. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, obviously, you've got a chicken breast, so we gotta cut this up into small pieces. Well, I've got a chicken breast. If you're going by the actual like recipe, I think it's chicken thighs or something. It's some piece of chicken. I like breast because you get more out of it, and I can make this last for like 2 or 3 days. Where is my fork? I will get a different fork.
So what is the most unlikely awesome Szechuan chicken recipe or place that you found in, I mean, I guess what would be the middle of nowhere?
You know, I haven't had the likelihood of finding too many of them. But there is one in, gosh, I don't even remember what city it was, in somewhere in Ohio. It was really quite good for kind of the middle of Ohio. So check it out. I don't remember the name, but if you can find it, then kudos to you. And we were talking about a couple other things earlier. What was your favorite? Your favorite
my favorite
dish, right?
recipe on Unicorn Chef so far.
Yes.
And I was commenting that the one that is, so I've learned a lot of things from all of the different. We're now coming up on our 1-year anniversary, so I've done almost 50 of these, and it's been fun learning as I go. I mean, learning to produce the show, learning different dishes and different ways to cook. So like the one recipe that really stuck with me the most was Lena Terraces. Was a pork wrapped tenderloin with spicy honey, and I was really surprised with how good that was. Like, it was even better than I thought it would be. It was fantastic. The other one that I think I've mentioned on a few other episodes, which just was a neat little trick that really added a lot of pop, was we had the former CISA director, Chris Krebs, on the show. I don't remember when that was. Last summer, I guess. And he introduced me to the concept of smoking cherry tomatoes. And so he always had this jar of smoked cherry tomatoes that he would make every week for the week. And then he would add them. And for there, it was like in pizza and in a sauce. And I started using that in different recipes. So like the recipe we did last week, we were making it. And I was like, this would have been really interesting to have added those smoked cherry tomatoes, because it's just, additional complexity for a relatively simple ingredient being added in.
Yeah. You were thinking like, what this really needs is a very niche ingredient.
Exactly.
So I am turning my stove now to medium on the burner. And what I've done here is I grabbed the pan, oiled the pan. I like to use olive oil. It's lighter than vegetable oil. The directions that I found say to deep fry the chicken. Do what you want. I don't deep fry it. It's just not to my taste. Although I think to be more authentic, it probably does need to be deep fried, but whatever. I did this thing a couple of times. I called it Hex's Careful Kitchen, where I just kind of like dumped things, like not in exact measurements, and then I would end up with whatever cookies, whatever I was making. But we don't do measurements, and we don't do eggs. This isn't an exact. Cooking is supposed to be probably a more exact science, but it's not. For me, it's not an exact. You just put what tastes good.
Well, that's one of the advantages of cooking, is we can also adjust as we go. I mean, I think it's very much cooking by feel. Yes.
Yes. Just don't feel with the tongue on the uncooked chicken. There's a bit of intuition with the ingredients that you have to kind of know how they taste, which is why I find this interesting, because if you haven't cooked with Szechuan peppercorns before, you're really missing out. It's delicious spice, underappreciated in my opinion.
So what is it about a Szechuan peppercorn that's so unique?
It's just such a different taste. It's sharp. It's a little bit spicy, but I think that it's perfectly within a normal person's spice tolerance. I'm kind of measuring that statement because spice tolerance varies from person to person, but and I tend to have maybe a slightly elevated spice tolerance.
So I have two challenges here. One, I don't have Szechuan peppercorns. I'm going to be doing this with regular McCormick whole peppercorns to see the difference. Two, I have to avoid the chilies because my teenage daughter is not going to accept them. So my dish needs to be not quite that spicy. But one of the things that I remember that is very unique about Szechuan peppercorns is the way it like numbs the lips and the mouth.
Yes.
It's like particular kind of like it's spicy, but it almost has an anesthetic built into it.
Yeah, it's so very unique. I was sounding like really elitist or snobby or something. I don't know what it is. Like I tasted these for the first time by biting into one, and it wasn't such a great. You're not supposed to like eat them whole. This is just a taste. It's just it's a little taste. So that's actually a good note when you go to actually eat this food. Don't eat the peppercorn. Don't bite it. I mean, you can if you want to. I'm not your mom, but wouldn't recommend it.
All right, I've got my meat here heating on medium with oil.
Excellent. Yeah, so I am still cutting this chicken breast because I've got a gigantic one.
So
what you want to do
I did mine to speed it up is I butterflied it, and then I found it easier to cut and I ended up with smaller pieces.
Yes, good call. Smaller pieces is what you want with this one. So, or it's what I like to do. So when you take the smaller pieces, what we're going to do with those is put it into a larger container so that we can marinate it for just a minute. If you are done with your cutting, which I am almost done, go ahead and take those pieces of chicken and put them right into a container that you don't mind putting raw chicken into, and start on the marinade portion, which I am going to do right now.
All right. I will wait to tell us what we're doing for the marinade.
All right. Finding a suitable container. Okay, so for this we need, I believe we need soy sauce, which I didn't get out. And I know that I have because my son spilled it last week.
How old's your son?
My son is going to be 8 this year. He's a big boy.
My daughter is 17. Good luck.
Well, we're looking forward to the teenage years in this house. My 5-year-old has reached teenage years, which may not make sense to the audience that don't have kids.
Full sodium, soy, or reduced. So whether or not to do the full or reduced salt soy sauce.
Oh, were you asking or just
yeah, a question based on your thoughts?
Oh, I like to do the full soy. It will end up reducing down. It will end up reducing down a little bit. Usually what I do in all of my cooking is I reduce everything to like a tar-like substance. It's up to you. If you like lower sodium, that really shouldn't change the flavor at all. You can probably totally cut the salt out of this one if you don't want to cook with salt. This house functions on salt, so we go the full salt route. And I am taking out some measuring spoons because we also need teaspoons. This is a tablespoon. Teaspoons. What else? Half of a teaspoon. Okay. And a tablespoon. So I do need that tablespoon. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to start the marinade with 1 tablespoon of soy sauce.
Or like me, you can just eyeball it and pour it on.
Yep, that's perfectly legitimate. In fact, I really should be doing, you know what? Well, I probably won't do it this time. But I will just haphazardly spill in there. And there is a good chance that I'm just going to end up resorting to dumping in because that's how I do things. Okay, so we've got that in there. Now we do 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Cornstarch is probably the thing you need to get the most accurate in this recipe. The rest of this stuff you can probably just kind of wing it. I'll do a teaspoon of salt because that's an easy one. I'll show you what mine's looking like now. It's really just a pile of stuff. I'm not sure if that can be seen, how well it can be seen.
Yeah,
it's really just a
I'm
pile
really
of.
making sure to mix up the starch because you want that to cover as much of the surface area of the chicken because that's how we're going to bind.
Yes, that's right. So we were talking about this earlier, the difference between like a rice wine or so I'm using sherry because I don't actually have any sake. But if you do have sake, you do the sake. Obviously, you don't need me to tell you that. So just put in about a tablespoon of that on top.
Mike, put it down. Stop drinking it.
Or drink it.
I can just tell some people at home are drinking it. I was making sure to give the public safety announcement.
Yeah. It's supposed to be for cooking. You should have better drinks than cooking wine. It's like eating baking chocolate.
You're talking to the guy that drinks box wine.
I mean, who wouldn't? I didn't realize I was in classy company. So I'm also doing just kind of like a dashing of black pepper. There is a more exact science to this one. We're playing fast and loose with the directions here.
Actual white pepper, one fancy ingredient I actually have. Oh.
Yeah, that's the lucky one. I should have white pepper, but I don't. We're in a white pepper desert where I live. I've tried to find it. I just can't. I also don't have scallions or ginger.
So ginger. That's a good point.
Yeah. If you have those things, ginger is always it's a good Asian ingredient to cook with. It would definitely make this probably a little bit better. Actually, I might have some like ginger powder.
And you can always cheat by having the tube of ginger. Although I do think I actually have fresh ginger, but we're doing the tube.
I have ground ginger, so we're gonna make do with this.
Oh, scallions. Is this where I'm supposed to throw my scallions in?
Yeah, you can. Well, this what this ends up being, Bryson, is more like a stir fry. So you can really just add this stuff anytime you feel like, and it's going to turn out fine. Like that's the beauty of a stir fry. If you're like low rent like me, then you just do this in whatever order, and you're probably going to turn out something that's still good.
Yep, I'm already starting to get hungry. This smells good.
Yeah, so then you just mix this up until you got the gooiness all over.
Yeah, I'm going to add.
And now you're pretty much
sesame oil right now. Also.
Yes, you remember an ingredient that I don't. And I may not actually have sesame oil either. That is, this is really just an oil that you're going to cook with. So it may add just a tiny bit of flavor. Again, if you don't have sesame oil, like you can just go ahead and add sesame seeds if you have them. Which I may have some here and we'll substitute for.
I today was able to get some sesame seeds. I've never done this before. They're called tuxedo sesame seeds, and they are black and white. I get white and black sesame seeds. So we're gonna see how that comes out. First time I've ever done it with these.
Yeah, so that's pretty fancy. That's a fancy
black tie
stir
fry over here.
I know that I have sesame seeds somewhere, but we're just gonna forego them. That's gonna add like a tiny bit of flavor to this, and the Szechuan peppercorns are gonna totally overpower that anyway, for the most part. So I'm gonna take this now, and what I usually do, this is a choice you can make because I'm good with the soy sauce here, is I just dump a little bit of soy sauce in there. It is going to react with the oil if you pre-oiled, so just be aware of that because it is going to start popping, especially if you've had it on there like I have. And so far, so good. I've burned myself just a small bit because this is way too hot. So I'm taking that off the heat and I'm putting my chicken in. Also, be careful because I'm going to kill myself doing this part. I think my problem here is that I took too long to cut the chicken breast. That's a lack of forethought on my part. So at this point now you're just cooking the chicken, and all of this deliciousness is going to be complemented by whatever you put in here. So if you like the spices, then you can drop the spices in. If this ends up getting a little bit too dry, then you can also just go ahead and put some more soy sauce in there, which is what I almost always do with this. Alternatively, if you decide to make this again, you can just double the recipe for the marinade and have a little bit extra in there. So if you go with the soy sauce to keep things a little moist in there, you can also reduce this down with a little bit of water in it also, which is what I'm going to do now just to kind of keep things moving on the inside. Not too much. So that's again, not sure if people can see I can probably move this camera actually. That's what we're working with here. And now this is just a matter of cooking the chicken to a place where it's not going to kill you when you try to eat it.
Can I throw my peppercorns in?
Hell yeah, do it. Yeah, now's the time for the peppercorns if you got them. So drop those in. Again, this is kind of what you want to end up with at the end is what you do. If you want to go by the recipe, I'm sure there's a more exact art to it. I kind of put them. These to me smell like Christmas. I'm not sure why. It smells like a Christmas tree. It smells like a pine tree. So if you haven't had these before and you want to try something new in your quarantine food lineup, give that a try. I'm also going to take my dried peppers. You don't have to dry them. If you have peppers, whatever heat you have can just go straight in there. Most of the time, that's how I do it. I just decided to get fancy this time and dry them out a little.
So I heard you're going to be keynoting a conference soon.
Yeah, I forget what it's called. It's definitely one that's coming up soon. It reminds me, it's like the fairy tales. Grimm's Fairies, GrimmCon. I'm keynoting GrimmCon. Maybe you've heard of it.
So GrimmCon 17 March, and I understand you're going to have a particularly spicy topic to cover.
Yeah, it might be considered spicy. I consider it something that we should probably talk more about, just in general, which is how the technology industry has failed humanity, which I think is something that it's definitely something that we should have some discussion about.
Yeah, so I summarize this as I think one of the failures we have in technology is we lose the people element, and not just in the way we always think about it, which is, hey, great, here's another nerd solution for a nerd problem, but also, I mean, the humanity of our industry in particular has become fairly entitled, and understanding those impacts and what privileges we have.
Yeah. Well, the privilege comes from a lot of different things. It comes from history, but it also comes from just the amount of money that we have to deal with on a regular basis in this industry. And as an employee, as a worker, we don't really interact with the money of it as much. Now, you might, because you're Bryson, but not everybody has to interact directly with money or funding. And so the abstraction of working in an industry that has a great deal of money flowing through it to solve human problems ends up kind of counterbalancing that interest. And that's one of the things that I'm definitely going to be talking about during the keynote.
So we're not going to give any more away other than I think that's a really awesome topic, tackling a lot of issues. And so look forward to hearing what Emily has to say on the 17th.
Yes, that will be fun. I'm closing keynote, right? I think so. I'm on the last day.
Yeah, you are the closing keynote. So we are doing a little bit of a different format for the opening keynote. We have 3 speakers, all going to be coordinating for as co-speakers for the keynote. This was an idea that came out of a Twitter discussion that I put out there a few weeks ago, and several women came together with discussing different aspects, and we coordinated offline, and we're going to turn that into a group keynote. So never seen it before, never done it before. I know it's going to be great. I just have no idea what it's going to look like.
I have faith that it's going to be wonderful. So the chicken's cooking. It's getting close to being done here on my side. I'll probably give it a little more time than I normally would, just to make sure that it is 100% okay to eat and not going to make me sick. But by now, if you're cooking with the same ingredients that I am, your kitchen should be filled with a delicious, spicy aroma. If depending on the spices that you use, don't lean too far over the pan, lest you mace yourself.
Yeah, I think you're on pace for being our most efficient chef with actually delivering, food, which coincidentally would be within a time frame that we've had previous chefs never even start putting food on the stove before.
Well, look, it's 7 o'clock. This family eats at 5, so I've already had dinner. This is going to be my tomorrow and Friday and maybe even Saturday food. So this is going to be a multi-day affair for me having this here. There's plenty. You're going to get a lot out of this depending on how much you eat. It's one chicken breast worth, but the beauty of having the spices in there is that when you eat it, it feels like you're eating more than you probably really are. So I can get through a few bites of this and then I'm good. I feel full because it's very hot.
Do you ever repurpose this in different ways? So like, the leftovers are good, and then at some point you reconstitute it into some other kind of dish?
Oh yeah, no, that's great about this one. You can, so if you just make a little rice, this is good for just like throw some instant rice in. and it's good for that. You can also you can make some kind of like a fajita dish with this. Would be really good because it's very close. It's got the chicken, it's got the peppers. You could make like an Asian Mexican fusion thing if you like that, and to take this exact thing and dump it in there, and maybe if you're adventurous, put a little bit of sharp cheddar in there and tortilla. That would probably be good. I'm just winging it. So any one of those things would probably be a great application for this particular meal.
Yeah, no, I hear you on the timing. I'm starting to get hungry too, and this smells great.
Yeah, I would actually, I may actually take a bite of this because it's making me hungry too, and I'm really not even hungry. That is a good skill. If you just started cooking during the lockdown, or you're still kind of like learning how to do it. Now, I'm not an expert chef, so don't take my word for this. But one of the things that I've discovered is reducing things is very easy to do, and it can keep things like moister than you would normally get them. So if we weren't constantly putting maybe a little bit of oil or water in this and soy sauce, then it's going to be super, super dry. But because I've been adding a little bit of water every once in a while, this is coming out to be pretty good. And it's not going to be, the chicken's not going to be super dry. So that's kind of like a good tip for anything if you're cooking chicken in this way. Also good for like any kind of stir fry. You use the same basic technique, and then you just wait until the consistency of the sauce is what you want it to be. Now the thing about this one is that it's a little bit tricky because I'm usually very visual with the way that I check my chicken to make sure that it's been thoroughly cooked. Because the pieces are so small, you should be good. If you started cooking about the time that I started cooking, this is probably good to go. But if you want to be extra sure, you can take a piece out and cut it and just kind of verify that the inside. If the inside is pink, don't eat it. That should be. You shouldn't need me to tell you that.
Yeah, no, my chicken is cooked, so I am ready whenever you are to plate.
Yeah, let's do it.
So while we're doing that, anything you want to tell the audience or talk about?
Gosh, what's the hot topic today? What's the thing people are talking about?
I mean, we've still got solar winds for the last 2-ish months. We've had the Florida water plant hack in Oldsmar for the past week and a half.
Oh yeah, I probably shouldn't talk about that.
We discovered the Chinese also exploited a vulnerability, we believe the Chinese also exploited a vulnerability in solar winds and were punking it, just not without the supply chain co-opt like the Russians. So
right. Not a good time to be a SolarWinds customer.
You mean one of the 18,000 of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it.
Being SolarWinds.
I did an interview on CBS News after the 60 Minutes on SolarWinds on Monday, and one of the audience was challenging me on why is it 18,000? Why not 16,000? Why not 20,000? Like, why that number? And it's like, well, that's the number. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Why did you pick it?
Why did you pick that number? Who cares? What's the difference? And it's like, well, it's a lot, and that's the actual number. Like, that's it. That's the whole story.
It certainly is a number that is associated with. It's a statistical count. Chosen by Bryson Bort.
Yeah, I did it. I came up with that number. To quote somebody else from the audience, Duck Dynasty here is the one who did that. Okay, I'm apparently Duck Dynasty because of my beard.
So you must live in like the cyber hype house. If you got that much influence.
Mike,
taste this
no,
rice.
nobody eats chicken medium rare. Please don't kill yourself. It's not that we love you. We just don't want the liability.
So that was kind of one of the things I learned in Japan. They have, if you haven't been to Japan, they have chicken sashimi there, and I will not eat that.
I've been to Japan. I don't remember chicken sashimi being on the menu.
It's there.
I
It's
haven't
definitely there.
All right. I am ready to eat this. This is delicious. You ready to take a picture, Unicorn Chef?
Yeah, give me a second here. I'm just gonna put a couple pieces of this chicken in here.
18,000 is a low estimate for the number of minutes it takes people to recover from Mike's food, Maggie. So I apologize. That is a made-up number. Let's see what else.
This doesn't make for a great photo, and like mine doesn't look. It doesn't look super appetizing, but I guarantee you it tastes really good.
Mine looks pretty good. I feel photo worthy.
All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw a caution to the wind here. Against my better judgment, I will give in to the hipster hype food picture.
This isn't hipster hype. This is just how we end the show.
Oh, this is
you put it on Instagram. That's on you. I don't do that.
All right.
Also, to be fair, when you make it yourself, I don't feel like that's the same thing as opposed to when you're like
it's different.
A picture of like, I ordered this, and it's like, congratulations, good job.
Yeah, it's different.
Certificate of achievement. You ordered food.
You got it. You got a good excuse. All right, here's mine.
Oh, can you put the unicorn on behind it?
Yeah.
I'm
worried about the light may not be satisfying.
To the audience at home and that particular comment there, yes, I almost have the ability to have a man bun. Not having cut my hair for almost a year does it. There we go. Ready?
Oh.
Your other left.
Is this working?
It's funny. It's hilarious. It looks delicious.
All
I
right.
gotta take my official bite
try.
here. Oh yeah, that's good. And I know my kid will like it, so win-win. Oh, hey, you know what? The peppercorns, it doesn't give it that same like numb feeling, but the flavor is pretty similar to the Szechuan.
Yeah, you wait a couple minutes. It's gonna come through. Actually, this is not as hot as I usually like it. I should have put more habaneros in there.
I'm surprised because I know that particular flavor for what you were going for, like that feel in your mouth. It has a particular like mouthfeel and spice, and it's not
mouthfeel. Yeah,
it's not far off.
It's all about the mouthfeel.
It's like 70%. It's like a C, but for America, that's pretty good.
If you got the mouthfeel joke, at me.
Em, if you could talk about your charities again.
Yes. Give me a moment. I can only imagine the awful sound coming through my headset right now. Charities. Yes. So my charities are the Travel Project and Mermaids UK. Mermaids UK is doing trans youth advocacy. Definitely an important project. I was trans youth. Trans youth needs help just everywhere in general, but especially in the UK. Travel Project is dedicated to, they run a hotline for LGBT youth in general to prevent suicide. So both of those very worthy causes. If you're not aware of them, definitely check them out. If you want to donate, definitely do that. So those are my charities.
If you donate, please let us know, whether that's sharing privately. We won't dox you, or of course tag us. We always like to highlight the positive aspects of all this that we're doing. And if you do make this at home or anything else that you would like for us to be aware of, that's how I find chefs is hashtag unicorn chef. And if it looks good, I'll reach out and invite you on the show. Emily, so great to have you on the show. I have to again give the unicorn salute to the first unicorn chef to take it literally and dress up as a unicorn, which is much appreciated. Look forward to a very humanistic keynote at GrimCon on 17th of March.
Yeah, come see me and bring your stoli because it's going to be. Actually, don't bring.
We'll have an after party like it's a real con.
Not Irish. Bring your Jameson.